Hello, hello, hello. We're back again for another match analysis thing. This time we've got IO.SYS and Planet Firefin.
hmm
And I'm with Arbiter as usual.
Hello.
And I'm Par in case you forgot.
I'm sorry, who are you?
Uh I lied. I'm
Oh yeah,
actually Shamrock.
damn. So you finally paid for online.
Anyway, jokes aside, this is for week 4, I believe. Because week 3 was a bye. We don't have replay analysis for week 3.
What do you mean? We only had like 2 seconds of footage.
Yeah.
It was me yelling at them, there were no games, goodbye.
Pretty much. All right, moving straight along though. Turf War Hammerhead Bridge.
Um, Overall notes on the set, very close. Score disagrees.
Yeah.
But I'll say Firefin definitely came in with a game plan. That game plan was X, not allowed to play the game.
Yeah. So X being the brush player over here. Um, Looking at this, we do have one Kraken. I was actually curious as to see how many Krakens would be around in the week 4 matches, considering we're now on the new patch, on the new
Actually,
season and all that.
actually surprised how many Krakens we saw, specifically in Turf War.
Yeah, like,
Uh, Definitely the specials worst mode. I say that and I picked it because 96 is my child.
well, yeah. I think 96 with Kraken still has a place in Turf War, but I think it's a little bit more map dependent because the special itself doesn't really help you paint.
Similar story with zones, but obviously things a bit more concentrated there to help the splash wall. That being said, heavy heavy paint from 3 members of Planet Firefin. They're kind of like moderate painting weapons, but compared to their counterparts, they're obviously going to have the paint advantage. So passively, they're going to be winning the game, meaning that the monochrome is on IO.SYS to kind of get picks, take control.
And to be fair, they are set up pretty decently to do that. They have Dynamo with Cooler. They have a Booyah Bomb to help them get in. They have a Zipcaster to just go annoy whoever happens to be in the back. And, more T-Tech is always just going to be a workhorse. It's going to be fine.
And X is the current leader in kills in the PSL. So,
Mm-hmm.
they have the tools
Yeah.
to kind of get these picks, but the onus is on them. They have to get picks.
They
If the
decide
game
to
is no passive, they lose.
Yeah, they decide to actually just like hold back and farm for paint base, farm for special.
Yeah, I find that better at the beginning of Turf War, as we kind of talked about the last 2 weeks. You kind of want to be able to get back to mid as soon as possible
Yeah.
towards the later stages of Turf War, which means if you're spending time in base, you're not spending time in mid. That
Yeah,
being said,
speaking of the mid
mid
fight.
fight's going pretty even, which is not great for Firefin considering they had numbers.
Yeah. They had a Kraken on top of the Booyah Bomb, which allowed them to basically just get that Booyah Bomb away for free.
Yeah, now they're able to turn this mid control into picks, but obviously, I'd say the paint is probably still a little favor of IO.SYS. Now
Yeah.
Nebula's going to start painting the base, so that should bring it in their favor with the mid control, but
It's not like ideal for the roller to be the one painting the base, especially when it's
gonna,
crack on, but
it's going to take a while, and there's still a lot of holes, as you can see.
yeah. The important thing is that it is a lot of turf to ink for a Kraken, which will allow them to just like take some more space, like right now going on in the T-Tech.
At very least, they're maintaining mid control, so they're not losing anything from this.
Yeah.
And they have beacons, so unlike IO.SYS, they're gonna have faster paths into mid as long as they can put those beacons in good spots. One the one benefit to running Kraken Roller over the 96 Deco, although generally I just think the 96 Deco is a better weapon.
Yeah. Yeah, the beacons are basically kind of the main reason. You do see, also just the fact that it is a roller, it is still a solid ambush weapon at the end of the day. It is kind of different, but 96 is just more easily applicable.
Yeah, kind of the key to this game is Firefin's just maintaining mid control throughout this entire thing. Now, granted, their base isn't very well painted, but if they never lose mid control, they're always going to have like a third of the map that IO.SYS doesn't have access to.
Yeah, like the thing that I kind of want to like note here is that like their team seems to have like on paper and in practice even because this is Hammerhead Bridge. They seem to have a lot of trouble just getting into a good fight with the heavy being there.
A wipe in the last 30 seconds. So like if it was close before, it's not going to be in a second.
Yeah, like the
they had
base
full control. It's taken them this much just to get danger, like pushing in 2/3. But
yeah,
I mean, there's no time for IO.SYS to make a comeback.
yeah, like looking over like the paint even, it's like yeah, Firefin's base is a bit more sparsely painted, but it doesn't really matter in this case because like they just had mid the entire game.
Yeah, they have a heavy and mid on this map where backline reigns supreme.
Yeah,
Especially E-Leader, but you don't want to run E-Leader in Turf War, so Splatling, very good substitute.
yeah, it's a pretty good substitute. I do also don't want to underplay like the Trizuka that just seemed to go completely insane in those last 30 seconds.
Yep, they won the lottery. They got 2 picks, one on a jump and one on the person they were jumping to. And if we kind of look at the score lines, we said at the beginning, IO.SYS needed to get picks in order to get their get in. About a little less than half the picks that Firefin were able to get.
Yeah, it kind of looks like both Dead and X were basically bullied out of that game. Just not being able to push into it a heavy, just not being able to win any favorable trades with either shots.
And those are the 2 weapons you need winning fights.
Yeah. Plus the Dynamo kind of not ending up being able to do a whole lot. Like, against a heavy, it's a little difficult.
I mean, the Dynamo is like, it's a snowball weapon.
Yeah.
For or against. If things are going bad, Dynamo is gonna feel really bad. If things are going well, Dynamo becomes a menace that is almost untouchable in a lot of situations, especially on Turf War. But just they were never able to establish that mid control, so the Dynamo could never actually get going.
Yeah.
That being said, Kill Leader on their team, so
yeah,
they were able to do some things.
Moving on to Splat Zones on Mako Mart. This mode I got very familiar with in Splatoon 2, and I don't think that's ever going to change at this point.
And you still don't know how to play it.
I really am not very good at it, I will freely admit.
That being said, focus on the teams here. We have double T-Tech from the Santa Planet Firefin, and double Bucket with 1 backline, and we have double Brush, double backline from IO.SYS.
Yeah, this is this is the match that I decided that I was like glancing through when I was trying to figure out what set I wanted to cover for this week. And I would just kind of looked at this and I was like, what is going on? This is Explo and Machine and 2 T-Techs on one side. And then you have double backline and double Zipcaster. Octobrush Zipcaster even.
I'm gonna spoil a little bit. This set was our second choice. Our first set decided not to post a replay code, so
yeah.
Slant, that's on you. But another instance we can see IO.SYS has the monochrome on them to get picks. They have double brush and double backline. So once they get in, it's going to be a strong hold, but they actually have to get in, and they're killed by a bomb with the first pick of the game.
Right away, the Dynamo's down, and that is going to make that defense falter. You've got 2 brushes and a Firefin and a Zekofin that's like gotta hold against 2 T-Techs and a Machine and an Explo in the back.
Yeah, they're just gonna have like tripling strike faster than you, and they have 2 extra members, and you have to deal with fizzy bombs. Like there's a lot, and then the Explo can play spotter on these brushes. That being said, brushes do good. They find their corners.
Yeah, the fight in mid ends up progressing decently into their favor. They get the picks that they need. They force the Explo out, even get the pick on it. So yeah, that's going to be a pretty good hold.
So
To
despite the early death of the Dynamo, this is exactly what IO.SYS want to do. They want to come out strong, they want to start out big, and they want to get into spots that's going to be hard to get them out. Because
yeah,
their comp doesn't push well.
not particularly. They need
It
to
it,
find those picks.
it relies on Zipcaster picks a lot of the time. And 6 on the zone. 6 triple ink strikes.
Yeah, a bit excessive, but it did flip.
Yeah, but obviously all those ink strikes went past X. So X is able to just like, okay, they're gonna push forward because they saw my 3 other members retreat. And hello, X-Blow.
Yep, X is doing a very good job sharking Planet Firefin, not letting them get too comfortable.
This is why it's hard for them to pop in. The brush is just gonna find a corner, and you have to be paranoid checking. Like the brush could be anywhere, and that's anytime I'm looking for the brush is time I'm not on the zone.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
because it's double brush and double backline, either of those brushes going down it hurts. It hurts a lot.
yeah. When you run double backline just in general, you end up with like this. It puts a lot more pressure on your front line, and when your front line is also kind of an all-in kind of weapon like brush that doesn't really have the flexibility to do much other than shark, then or poke with its suction bomb, I guess. It
It
can be a little bit hard.
it can work, but you're kind of playing into the Dynamo strategy of if we're going to win, it's going to be a snow because retaking is hard.
Oh yeah.
And we're gonna see how hard it is right now because all those staying weapons onto the side. That being said, X finds a way through the zone and onto the plat, but immediately spotted out by the Explorer.
And once they're spotted out, like the Explo basically just can like continue chipping them down or like draw it out so that like they get the lead swap. So that's probably just good enough.
Yep. Charger gets a pick onto the T on one of the T-Techs on zone, so that's good. X is behind, so they can't focus on hitting the zone, but
Yeah.
it this is like the situation you don't want to be in IOSIS as IOSIS. You don't want to be fighting back and forth on the zone.
Yeah,
You're
very split as well. Like you notice that like X is like now completely surrounded and probably called out at this point.
yeah, you're putting all the pressure on your brushes to find a weird corner. And at some point, Planet Firefin's gonna have enough paint in mid that there's nowhere to find.
Yeah.
So it's okay now, but they need to make something definitive soon.
Yeah. The
Just
thing
be able to kind of hold this.
the thing for retakes
And
also, like
and something significant. X gets a triple.
yeah, that is absolutely significant. That's going to allow them to buy just enough time, and like the T-Tech also ends up feeding in, so that's probably going to buy them enough time to get lead in most circumstances.
Yep, it should be lead. I think Charger maybe playing a little too much for picks, but it's not gonna matter in the end because they get 2 of them, and that's the 2 most painting members of Planet Firefin down.
Yep,
So that's gonna mean they're gonna hold for a bit. X finds their spot. Vince kind of probably spells it out, but
it's a little too
obviously
close trying to look for it.
they look at each other. Neither one finds it.
Yeah,
Then eventually, just too much cyan ink. X gets surrounded. Other brush goes down. Both backlines are forced to jump out.
I
And
just
this is getting close to nightmare scenario.
I just want to point out, by the way, like the retake potential on Firefin is also insane compared to IO.SYS.
2
Like,
triple ink strikes, a rain, and a booyah bomb.
yeah, they're all specials that help with retake, like or like can just do it by themselves even.
Clears one of those stacks. Like any 2 of them thrown at the zone will cap.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's a bunch of painting power from the side of Planet Firefin, and that's what makes this if we lose mid dangerous. Because
Yeah.
if we look at this, there's kind of 2 spots IOSIS can look for. I think they could try to get a pick on this top side on Jesus and try to play numbers from there, or they can try to sneak on this right side because there's no paint anywhere else.
Yeah.
And if you paint anywhere else, they're going to see you. The danger with Explo is if it sees you, your feet are painted.
Yeah, pretty much. And we also
So
know that, like, that Michelle is also, like, pretty comfortable on the Explo, from what I
yep.
remember.
The good news is they got Jesus' pick, but I think they traded X, so it didn't actually become number advantage. And that lack of paint on the top side comes to haunt X.
Yeah.
Now they try a pinch with Dead. Could have worked out. Unfortunately, X just went down a little too fast. But a little too, maybe feeling a little too safe standing on the zone for Firefin, and they just get caught by the ink strikes that are meant to cap the zone.
Caught by the ink strikes, and also the Dynamo managing to find an opportunity to go a little bit aggressive, and
Yep.
just, they can't really escape when the Dynamo is painting their feet super well.
Yeah, maybe overextended the situation before they had real control. But point is, IO.SYS is fighting tooth and nail just not to get knocked out in this game. And now they're starting to set up because, well, they don't need a super paint control mid, they just need to hold.
Yeah.
As long as they know where the players are, they can hold. Granted, having more paint would make that easier, but you have double sharking brush. You're going to find out where they are eventually.
Both of the brushes are sharking. I kind of wonder if there was any merit of one of them trying to go around the side in order to get up to that area. Like, it didn't seem like Plan Firefin was looking in that direction all that much, but also none of the brushes seem to try that.
I think someone called. I think someone saw the T tag. So I think maybe worried that the T tag's just gonna come around, do the same, and kill both your backlines.
Yeah,
Because
maybe.
then you, because then you can't sustain this push.
Yeah. Speaking of the T-Tech, though, I don't think they necessarily knew that Vince snuck around there, but it didn't necessarily end up mattering too much. That push is very quickly shut down.
Yeah, if they don't know about Vince, then probably that flank could have been correct. But I mean, if your focus is lockdown, there's a chance that you just get rushed through your team, and they just don't care about a flank happening. Having said, X finds another good spot, but again, two specials on the zone, the rain and the tripling strike.
Mm-hmm.
Just able to recap it immediately.
Zone's
Shell
back.
able to get out, which is very important, that explode paint. And Firefin's just going to be playing, I'm going to get my special game and, try and stop me.
Yeah, they get the Booyah Bomb, and that ends up being enough with the team members moving in.
Also a storm on the zone, so even if the Booyah didn't up on its own, the rain would have finished it off.
Yeah, you get the two specials. Like, any two would have basically flipped the zone, and there was nothing that they could have, that IO.SYS would have been able to do about that. They needed some picks right then and there.
They had to, all four members would have had to focus on painting the zone, but then you lose the fight and you lose the zone anyway.
Yeah.
That being said,
Some interesting statistics to see here, by the way. That Dynamo got 7 coolers.
yep, and IX got 17 kills.
Yeah.
So onus definitely can be seen. More picks on the side of IO.SYS, but the onus was on them. They had to get more picks.
Yeah. That ended up being a very close game at the end
Yeah.
there, but
It's like Firefin, almost twice the deaths of every member of IO.SYS, and it's just
there
because
was just...
the Firefin comp is a lot easier to play from behind. It's just it didn't end up mattering.
Yeah.
It's like yes, you outkilled them. You had to outkill them by more, or you had to kill them sooner.
Total of 10 triple ink strikes from Firefin as well.
There's not much you can do about that. They double. It's like they're one painting special on 4 painting specials on the side of Firefin. You have to, that one special has to do so much work.
Yeah. And to be
Just
fair, that Zekofin did get 5. So,
yeah,
that's not nothing. That's a pretty good number for that weapon.
yeah. Just the objective of the game is splat zones, and doesn't matter how many. It counts who controls the square.
Yeah.
Firefin controlled the square.
I'm already seeing a really interesting matchup going into tower control, though.
uh, I don't remember what happened in this game at all.
Well, we're gonna find out. Among other things, we're seeing a rapid deco.
I think there was an overtime push.
Also got the...
Uh, so continuing with the theme, there's slightly more paint on Firefin. Wiper paints decently well. T-Tac is, well, it's a painting weapon, more of a painting weapon. Splash also a painting weapon, but it's about the only one on the side of IO.SYS. The brush doesn't really paint, and then the heavy is going to paint more than the E-liter just by virtue of if it can stay alive.
Yeah. Leader can be definitely, like, very strong on this map, but Leader alongside Range Blaster and Octobrush, you're really not having too much paint to, like, let them move around too freely.
Yeah,
Unless
yeah.
you're getting picks.
Again, onus is on uh onus is on IO.SYS to get the picks, but we saw in Splat Zones, they're very much able to live up to that onus, and picks matter a lot more in tower control where people are going to a focused area.
Something else that I also want to point out for Firefin's comp, double torpedo. You have both the wiper
Yep.
and the rapid deco that has it.
Double torpedo and a blaster. So standing on that tower is going to be a bit of a pain. But
Yeah.
range blaster on the side of IO.SYS does something similar, and leader is one of the is probably, no, it's not probably, it's absolutely the best control weapon in the game,
Yeah.
because it's just, oh, I wonder where the enemy is. I wonder if they're standing on the tower. Oh god, I got a double kill. I'm standing on the tower.
Yeah. Zoom in for this one a little bit.
Yeah,
Take
just
a look at some
seeing.
of the particulars of what's going on.
Yeah, a lot of people picking their spots.
Yeah.
Firefin just kind of looking to see where IO's going. Jesus gonna go for a bit of a collapse. Ends up taking the range blaster, but trade kind of goes poorly. There's just more people ready to fight on the side of IO.SYS. They're very much understanding how they have to win.
Yeah, for sure.
That being said, Firefin, okay with being passive. They feel comfortable with the tools they have, and they're going to get the first wipe of the game as a result. A little bit of over-aggression from IO.SYS, but, I mean, looking at their comp, they kind of have to be aggressive.
Yeah. We have an inkjet being popped here. Blaster just ends up getting completely caught.
Yep, just a casual inkjet, just trying to see what they can get. Able to help get the pick on the range blaster, and then I think baits the brush, trying to get its landing.
Yeah.
Not 100% certain, but the brush obviously trying to go for something in the middle.
Now I want to this fight ends up going honestly, all things considered, this is still a win for Firefin in my book because they broke the
Got
second
2
checkpoint.
Yep. Anything you can get on the plat in this map is good, because anything can happen once you're on the plat.
Yeah.
And anytime you can spend less time on the plat is good. So this is the most valuable checkpoint.
Yeah, absolutely on this map.
That being said, IOS is able to clean this up because they have a range blaster, and range is very good at dealing with tower, especially on this map with a lot of corners.
Yeah.
Ink Strike's coming out, just trying to isolate members of Firefin, but doesn't really seem that IOS know where they are. Get a 1-for-1 trade. I think that's the E-liter getting the pick on the Splatling.
Yeah, the leader gets the pick on the Splatling, but the range blaster goes down in the process.
Yeah, unfortunately, like, having to reveal themselves so the leader can get that shot. That being said, they have control of the tower, so I mean, as long as you're able to maintain control, trades are fine.
Yeah, but the problem is they're having trouble standing on the tower, and I think that's just kind of where that double torpedo is kind of coming back into play.
Yeah. Double torpedo blaster. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to deal with tower with blaster than it is to push past it, especially when you don't have a lot of pain.
Trade wiper for E-liter here.
Yep, those torpedoes just calling out the members of IO.SYS on the right stack. Jesus just kind of like, oh, I know they're here. I'm gonna roll a bomb. Just check the back side. I ended up getting the brush. It's fine. Oop, surround. Range blaster got surrounded in paint, so I can go ahead and clean up that one because I'm a T-Tech. And then the last person just had to deal with the planet Firefin
Yeah.
because there's nothing left for IO.SYS in the middle.
I
E-Leader isn't gonna win these fights by the stacks.
want to point out also, there was an opportunity for Dead to have probably gotten a shot off on Jesus when they were still fighting around the stack, but I think they were trying to get a pick on either the heavy or the rapid instead, and just did not look over to the right enough to find that.
Potentially some miscommunication, but I mean, you only get one shot at that, so even if you miss it, kind of would amount to the same, but it's an
Yeah,
opportunity. Something
yeah,
worth noting.
yeah. Just wanted to point it out more than anything else.
Yep. Firefin's gonna take control of Tower, and something I'm noticing throughout the set, Firefin's comps are just easier to play.
Yeah, they're like there's still some stuff in them that is like maybe a little bit like lesser seen, but they're still like easy to work around. Like here it's like, okay,
There's
you've
very
got a rapid,
obvious
but this is tower
plans.
control.
Yeah, there's very obvious ideas of this is tower control. Torpedoes are hard to deal with for some weapons, so if I just throw a bunch of them, some will hit the tower and they won't be able to stand where they want. I have tripling strike, so I can just throw those out and they won't be able to stand on the tower. I've got heavy, it's a good painting weapon. It's going to help us keep control, and Wavebreaker can make fights awkward.
Heavy is
And then
also pretty decent into the aggressive weapons that
yeah, and I have a
IO.SYS
blaster,
is picking. Yeah,
which is also good at clearing the tower because things don't want to take 3 shots.
yeah.
And I'm going to be able to hit the entire tower no matter where I shoot. So, that being said, back on the plat, they're going to put the wave breaker on the tower. That is going to cover the clam. So this is covering every ounce of IO.SYS' base except the very top of bats.
Yeah.
That being said, uh, you know, range blaster still kills faster, but I mean the paint control is just allowing them to stay. Like,
Yeah, it just keeps on going.
they just can't clear him out. Finally, they clear him out, but they almost got to the third checkpoint in that time. Like, that push was probably extended 10 seconds longer than it probably should have.
Probably.
Just based on the amount of paint Firefin's able to kind of put out immediately.
E-Leader way far up, trying to push the
Does
tower.
does get the heavy. And this is a good opportunity. There's 2 down. All of them are alive. E-Leader's the one that died, so, you know, not great, but not the worst. Gets a pick on the T-Tech, but
Yeah, it looks like
everyone
the
else
splash
dies.
Yeah, the splash gets poked out. The range loses a battle with the T-Tech.
I think IO.SYS is just trying to go a little too fast.
Yeah. I think they need to slow down a little bit here against Firefin, especially, like... That, to be fair, like, Firefin is trying to slow them down with the comp that they have, but at the same time, you kind of need to take a bit more of a measured approach when you're using a comp like this.
I wouldn't... They're just not going together.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there's a lot of... The range blaster goes to poke on right, then when the range blaster dies, then X or Misk is like pushing up the left side. It's like those things should be happening at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that makes more sense than whatever I said. But we do have a sign of life here. They
Yep.
effectively got a wipe out on Firefin in order to get this far. But now the hard part. Firefin is respawning. They already have a wave breaker ready. Or rather, IO.SYS has just a wave breaker and ready to continue this push, and they have to clear the second check on Inkblot. Never an easy task.
The good news is Firefin currently has nothing, and they're gonna lose the first person. Other good news, X is in a really good spot, but they're getting 2v1'd.
Mm-hmm.
So
They're getting 2v1, but As
They
the
live.
fight goes on, yeah, this ends up being a fight that goes in IO.SYS' favor. They have a chance to swap the lead now.
They have a very good chance to swap the lead. Just having that extra
Oh!
special.
But then the Rapid Blasters just gets the 2 money shots, and that's it.
And this is why blasters are good at tower control.
Very good at tower control,
Aw,
yeah.
you thought you won the game. It was a 3v1. Everything's fair.
Last
Lol AoE. Go
last one alive.
burr.
Now I do
So,
want...
kills
Now,
are even.
yeah, kills are about even. Vince ended up getting, like, mostly kind of shut out in that game, I noticed, just because, like, it's leader versus heavy. The
Yep.
heavy loses that.
But third most pain on their team and outpaints everyone on IO.SYS except for the Neo Splash.
Yeah, the Neo Splash, which you kind of expect to have high pain because it's a splash.
It also has to because it's the only real painting weapon on IO.SYS' side.
Yeah.
So something has to paint those areas. It's going to be the splash, whether it's trying to or.
Yeah, this was, again, like, IO.SYS had that game won if not for the blaster being in the right place at the right time to stuff that push.
Yep. Yeah, a little bit of, I'd say, frantic defense from Planet Firefin almost costing them.
Yeah.
But I mean, most of the game in their control, playing the easier comp. They're making not risky decisions, so they're not giving a lot of opportunities to the side of IO.SYS. But you can kind of see with IO.SYS' comp, it only takes once.
Yeah. Like, they can ride that momentum pretty far. Like, and they almost did. They almost took that retake.
Unfortunate with the blaster, but I mean, same thing could have happened for IO.SYS' side with the range blaster.
Yeah, exactly. If Firefin was in that situation, they could have easily gotten stuffed by the range.
Yep.
But yeah. Overall, yeah, like, I'm noticing the theme here. We have 3 wins for Firefin so far, but every single game has been very close.
Yep. Firefin also playing the higher paint comps.
Yeah.
And I see that doesn't change. Oh, this is pretty even for paint.
No, yeah, no, this is actually pretty even for this next one when we get into this. Guildtail Rainmaker.
Because Brush 96 is going to have about the same paint output as Rapid Blaster and Heavy.
In fact, it's 2 heavies being played
Oh,
here.
wait, it's double Heavy.
Yeah.
Sorry, 96 Brush and the Rapid and one of the T-Tags.
Yeah. So I think this is like roughly even because like the Octobrush is like not going to paint as much, but the 96 is definitely better than the Rapid for paint, and then the Splash it just kind of paints about even with one of the shots, I think.
Yep. 2 things to note. Rainmaker is very much about how fast you can pop and how fast you can move. IO.SYS is playing a fast once they have specials.
Yeah.
But Firefin's going to be able to get that pop more than not, and they're going to be able to stall areas more with the bombs that they have.
Yeah.
It's very all in for the side of IO.SYS once again.
Yeah, which just seems to be their style, which perfectly fine. It's just they do have to work around that.
Yeah, if Firefin ends up falling behind early, the GG Kraken can start. Which is really the reason you'd pick 96 into this mode. It's like, okay, there's 10 seconds. All right, there's 10 seconds left. I have a 96. I have special, and you push 30 points. I'm gonna just press the button.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of the 96, it ends up being the first one down for this mid-fight.
Yeah, Firefin just rotating more, like, as a group.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a little isolated now, but Jesus hasn't died yet.
Jesus ends up getting the pick on the heavy, it looks like, and then backs out, just doesn't overcommit.
Yeah, they're very much rotating together.
They end up. I think that was shredding a crab also
Yep.
on
Yep.
the.
Yep. Yeah. Frontline crab problems.
Yep.
Especially with the heavy dead, there's just nothing really to be done.
We have a
Ooh,
Kraken come out.
that's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Kraken falls down, ends up trying to chase the blaster, but the real unfortunate thing, heavy respawns, falls immediately into a Rainmaker shot.
Yeah.
So back-to-back deaths for the backline of IO.SYS, and that's kind of the stability you need, because without it, this
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I don't think there's really much to extrapolate on there. That was just kind of a
Not a
Firefin
lot of
found their opportunities and just kind of ran with them.
not a lot of tools to hold areas once the heavy dies.
Yeah.
Could have maybe held it off if the Kraken hadn't fallen earlier, but just ends up getting isolated. It's still one person. It doesn't do a whole lot on its own. It can maybe get a pick on a slow person that's in a crab or the Rainmaker, but it wasn't on either of those. So
That match
just
lasted like a minute, and Jesus got 7 picks.
and there was one kill on all of IO.SYS.
Yeah, that was
That's what
very unfortunate, and
that's what we call in the industry unlucky.
yeah,
Anything that could have gone wrong did, but the that's the board you play with when you play these all-in comps. Like,
yeah,
that's the knife's edge. I'm gonna play on the knife's edge, and sometimes stabbed.
yeah. That does in fact happen. But we're gonna move on to Clan Blitz now.
The good news is, usually you can stitch yourself up, and after that, you still have a knife. As we're going to see in this game.
We have a interesting lineup coming out here as Firefin changes things up like a fair amount, actually.
Yeah, so IO.SYS actually goes with the more painting comp here. And Roller, 96, double Kraken on the side of Plant Firefin, things do, but they're gonna have less control than their.
Yeah, for sure.
The Splash is going to paint more than the T-Tech. The T-Tech's going to paint more than the 96. Brush is going to paint about the same as the Bucket, and the Roller is going to paint less than that.
Yeah,
So, onus on this game is on Firefin.
for sure. Yeah,
They have to get picks.
yeah. The low pain amount is going to be it's like I'm taking a look at this and I'm like these two teams have just kind of swapped styles entirely, it looks like.
Double Tri-Strike on Planet Firefin, double Tri-Strike, double Kraken. And then
Yeah.
we have Crab, Zipcaster, Tri-Strike, and Wavebreaker. I don't actually think this is different from IO.SYS' style. They still gonna have that all-in potential with the Zipcaster.
But this is going to
But
be
I
like
think
easier to play with when you have this much pain.
this is hard committal from Firefin. They're hard committing to whenever they push with these double Krakens. They're in a situation where the Krakens have to get something.
Yeah.
Now you can chain them back to back. You can push forward with the Kraken on the 96 and let the Roller go forward. But I mean, that's a lot of coordination you have to do every time. That being said, first pick's gonna go onto the Bucket just because, well, IO.SYS have more paint, so they have more mid control, and the Roller gets similarly focused out.
Yeah.
It's not the word I was looking for, but it's the one I'm going to use.
Jesus kind of stuck somewhere in enemy territory also, trying to make something happen, fails to get a pick off of X as they're climbing the ramp, gets into a bit of a scuff with the Splash now.
Splash isn't even like fighting them; they're just
Not
ignoring.
really, no.
I don't know if the Splash knows they're there. Ooh, unfortunate miss on the basket, but a good turn by X to just be able to deal what's behind him, and now you have had the numbers advantage on the
Yeah.
right side. Now you kind of have to give it up.
Yeah. Bucket
And
is
that's
going to be able to clean up the brush. We have a Kraken kind of going off in mid, mostly just to command space, it looks like.
yeah, but even then, about 5 seconds of Firefin having the numbers advantage, and they've gotten the paint just to even.
Yeah, like, things are still, like, we're waiting for something we're looking for a chance to command right now.
Yeah, IO.SYS' playables are coming in, and you can see they're slowly, very slowly, starting to get control back. This Kraken's gonna get a pick back, but, I mean, they kind of need to get one more. Because they're just gonna get... Yeah, everyone knows they're here.
Yeah. They don't... Yeah, even if they got a beacon off, that would have probably been shredded as they died.
Yeah. And granted, now they have control, but they're down a person. This control is not going to last very long.
Yeah. Beacon will at least, like,
Especially...
let them reinforce pretty quickly, but, ooh.
Yeah, especially when 3 people collapse on 1, and then... I don't know who got that pick on Vince, or on Michelle, but that's just icing on the cake.
Yeah, this basically means, alright, you gotta keep control of mid. The splash ends up getting picked off. That's pretty good for a defense.
Something to note, IO.SYS is still playing like they're the team that has the onus. So they're very much like pushing onto the plat before they have full control.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of similar to how they've been in the previous games. But Firefin doesn't really have the control element to be able to push their picks further like they could previously.
Yeah.
So even if they're getting these picks, the onus is on them. Okay, get another. Okay, get another.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to advance in this game, because, I mean, IO.SYS just by living is going to push you back.
They need to snowball picks into more picks, and right now
27 clamps. If anything to tell you how the story in mid is going, 27 clamps.
Yeah.
But they're gonna lose half of them.
Largely off the back of the roller getting picks and, like, the attempt to push on the plat just not working out.
But Firefin lost all of them.
Yeah, they did.
Every single one. And even then, scoring that and getting the respawns, they had 14.
Got a good bomb kill off of the splash again. So again, they're starting to gain that momentum that they need.
It just gets stopped in its tracks, like right after they get advantage.
Yeah, it kind of looked there like Jesus was trying to force, like, off of that, but everyone else was more concerned with just, like, stabilizing.
It's like, wow, no one south of Kentucky is gonna know anything I know what I'm talking about. It's like you start forming the snowball and you can see in your mind how it's gonna go, and you start packing it, and then you realize it's not packing snow.
Yeah.
It's like they're starting, you can envision it, they can see how they can get in the game, and it just doesn't happen. Like, they're just not able to get that second pick that'll let them really break the game open. They can get one, like they did here on Eric, and then X will
they
get
trade
2.
down. Yeah.
So, just...
Okay,
I mean, onus is on them, but they're still people down. Now they have a man advantage.
Yeah, one, but at the same time, it's like, okay, they theoretically are starting to get control, but immediately as people are starting to stabilize, there aren't opportunities to get more picks right now. They're already just losing all of this space because they have to respect all this painting weapons.
They also had to use 3 specials to get into the situation. IO.SYS still has 2.
Yeah.
So, not even using those specials, they find a pick onto Vince just based on their map control. Unfortunately, I don't think they used their Tri-Strike, but not their other special, but they have Crab just sitting at the ready.
Yeah. And, like, Crab is just still...
How to stop a snowball 101.
Yeah, unfortunately...
Hit crab, win.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that doesn't end up happening here because they end up charging onto the spinner and just getting immediately, like, bucketed on, I guess.
But again, one pick, and then immediately they lose Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, it's whether it's luck or IO.SYS playing well, like Firefin just cannot get this push off the ground.
Yeah, and here
They're
they're
trying
just...
to double crack it. This is
Yeah.
desperation.
Yeah, no, they're desperate to get something off, and, well, they get the power clam in, but that's all they get, and Michelle is just running forward with the last power clam.
Yeah, Jesus can't get the lead because it's an end lag. Able to get the pick before he comes out. Same thing with Nebula, able to be taken out in the end lag in this even-powered matchup. X
lost
gets
almost...
the pick because Firefin has nowhere to go.
Yeah,
and they're just gonna run out of time.
Effectively, this is the end of the game. They cannot get to the basket quick enough, even if they manage to get the ball back.
Yeah. Just Firefin just really struggling to get any kind of snowball going. And their comp kind of requires it.
Yeah.
You kind of see just from the stats, like Firefin taking more deaths than kills.
Yeah.
You saw all the moments. It's like, oh, this is it. They got one or down. They got two down. This is when they can start. And it just falls into unfortunate or good play, regardless of how you want to put it. That just only one time were they able to push on the enemy plat.
Yeah. This was, I think, this was like an interesting thing where I'm not entirely certain why Plant Firefin decided to switch up so drastically to this kind of style when they were doing so well, so comfortably on the style of comps that they were doing previously.
I think maybe something having to do with Museum.
Yeah.
It's a very... You kind of have to get picks to push on Museum, but it's maybe over-indexing into that idea.
Yeah, like, I think maybe the index into the slosher would have probably been enough for one, or like into the 96 even.
I think you go with the slosher or the roller. I don't think you go with both.
Yeah, because at that point you're giving up so much paint. Like, now you need, because like at this point now you need Jesus to both like paint for you as well as you need the you also need him to get picks off of to let the snowball get going, and he'll have some of the easier time doing it.
Yeah, because this bucket painted more than was the second most paint in the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
Like this entire game, just because off the mention of, well, it has range, so it should be able to reach further places. It has a bomb, so it doesn't have to use its main weapon, and it got 3 lasting strikes than the T-Tag.
Yeah.
And you kind of when the onus is on you, every special needs to be good.
Yeah.
And the less specials you have, the less specials you have that can be good.
Now, to their credit, IO.SYS didn't get too many good pushes off. Matter of fact, like, they only got the one power clam in, and the only reason they won is because they did it before Firefin could.
Yep. And I think I said it before, a little bit of over-eagerness. IO.SYS very much to get picks. So I think kind of stuck in that mindset, not realizing it's like we're just winning passively.
Yeah.
So something I would note for them is just kind of look at the enemy team as like, okay, do we have to get picks? Or are we just gonna... Do we have the tools to just kind of pressure them back without even having to hard commit?
Yeah. And in this case...
This is the only game they did, so I'm not gonna fault them. You're in the middle of a set, you're like... We keep getting close, but... Except for Rainmaker, we keep getting close and it's just not there. We just need a couple extra picks. I'm not going to blame them for being like, oh, we can just win passively. We don't need the picks. Like, you're stuck in that mindset.
Yeah. Personally, if I was IO.SYS, I would basically just take a look at that Rainmaker game, report the score, and then burn it.
Burn it to the ground. Nothing of value. You sometimes when you play Russian roulette, you lose.
Pretty much, yeah.
And, you know, the other 5 people survived. Not much to really read into that, except unless you wanna change up your composition.
Yeah, yeah. Overall though, yeah, I can definitely see why this was a really close set, even though the score does not really show that.
It's a team that gets incremental advantages, goes fast and hard.
Yeah. And in this case, and like most of those games could have gone either way. Rainmaker was basically the only exception here.
Yeah, these 2 teams are both sitting near the top of the table, so Planet Firefin currently with a 3-0 set score. I think IO.SYS is 0-2, but they're, like, comfortably, I wanna say 6th in the standings? 6th or 8th?
Something like that. I think they had like a
So,
harder schedule if I remember correctly, so
they've had a pretty hard schedule, yeah.
yeah.
I think they've had the 5th hardest schedule in the league.
Something
So,
like that. Yeah.
good showings from them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean,
Overall, I think this was a good set. Both teams did their best here. Then I definitely can see room for improvement for both.
very clear game plans.
Yeah. They are in styles that they are comfortable with. That much is clear. And when the styles clashed, it just happens to have to go one way.
Yeah. You can easily see what they want to do, just maybe not as comfortable realizing how the things work together
Yeah.
with the enemy's composition.
Like one thing that I think is clear from IO.SYS is just X being just very, very comfortable on that brush, and that has been self-evident even in all of the losses.
Kill leader in the league.
Yep,
There's a reason.
for a good reason. They are cracked at that brush.
No one is taking that from them, and no one should try. You're just gonna become a statistic.
Yeah, but I think that is something that IO.SYS can play around as a result. They want to play something aggressive. Well, their comps can help facilitate that.
Yep. That being said, kind of would really look forward to see if these 2 teams end up meeting in playoffs. I kind of expect both of them there. I'd be disappointed if they don't.
Yeah, I would expect both of them to be there. It's just a matter of if they're going to face each other or what, really. Like,
Pretty
it could be.
much.
Yeah.
I think a rematch could flip on its head or go a bit more even in the score because obviously Firefin wins the set 12 to 3, 12 to 4, 12 to I want to say 12 to 4. I think
uh, well, yeah, they got Turf War. Uh,
I think zones went to overtime.
I think Zones went to overtime. Yeah, it did. Tower Control went to overtime.
12 to
Rainmaker was a
5 then.
KO.
12 to 5 then.
Yeah, and Clamblitz also, I believe, went to
It did.
overtime most of
It
the
did.
time. Went.
Yep.
Yeah. My
So,
memory is sometimes not the best. You'll have to forgive
yeah,
me.
but no. Look forward to seeing it. If you end up playing either of these teams, kind of keep this in mind, but just keep in mind they're going to be doing the same for you when we get to your team.
Yeah, for sure.
So, that being said, I've been Arbiter.
And I've been Par. Thanks for joining us for another analysis.
We're doing it again.
Yeah,
Hopefully soon.
very much, yeah.
Have a good one.
Take care.